So we're gonna go to the Homestead National Historic Park. This is the Heritage Center. We just passed a little schoolhouse.
Freeman School?
Yeah, Freeman School.
Can't hunt here. Cars to the left, RVs straight ahead.
Yep. And there's an RV up there. It's kind of cool. They have each one of the states represented that were all part of the Homestead Act. And then here's a map. I didn't realize that Florida was part of the Homestead Act. I knew the East Coast wasn't because it was already established. Kentucky and Tennessee, and Texas was not included. But all this are homestead. That's kind of cool because I didn't know that Florida was one of them. Did you?
Yeah, or Alaska.
Yeah, I didn't realize Alaska was either a homestead, but that makes sense. So it was President Lincoln legislating, how do you say that? The expansion westward. Of course, how can we forget Thomas Jefferson and the Lewis and Clark? Louisiana Purchase. Then we had the Homestead Act. This is one of 3 places you can stop. There's the Freeman School. Have you seen some of these? The hay stackers. Have you seen those in Montana? It's pretty cool. This is a camel back drill press. And then this is a replacement blade plow. Plow, like a plow. This is a windmill. And there's the pump the water comes out of. And up there's the windmill. That's pretty cool. Be a good place to bring youngsters in that don't know anything about it. Let's see if you can see it. Get a picture from up top of the windmill. Here's a picture of the whole thing. Can't live without it. Those don't look comfortable. Promise of Paradise. One of the other, there's another building to go on down that you can see old farm equipment. And then there's a schoolhouse called the Freeman Schoolhouse. And it has some history too. Cooking. I know, all you guys are wanting to see is what is the big surprise. It's coming. School's in session. This is the Homesteader Schools. Lunch pail. Got little individual chalkboards. You know? I seen one of those when I was a kid. Somebody had one of those. I used to play with it. This is the math book. 1869. It was a typical 19th century textbook that the Homestead kids would use. Originally, they were taught out of the Bible until that was found to be unconstitutional. But that's how they were taught to read. They would read the Bible, teach them how to read. Not to teach them religion, it was just to teach them how to read. Which, in turn, you know, you can take what you think. Look at all that library full of stuff. Wow. That's all information that they have. It's really cool. That is a brace. It's a wood block. Of course, a claw hammer. You don't know what that is. There's your measuring square. Chisel. And a carpenter's mallet. This is what they called a sod brick. and it was made in 1787. So they would take sod, harden it, and make kind of like a brick. Little kids' toys. Only a few homesteaders grew rich. Most did not. Only 40% who ultimately gained ownership of their homesteads. Where was the personal reward of knowing they had beaten the odds? It says, in Sweden we walked, in America we rode. So a few grew rich, but many more felt rich with satisfaction. People took pride in their communities, knowing they were, if they made it, they were the 40% that actually made it. It's not a replica piece medal that would have been given to an Indian. 160 acres is what you had. And you had to plant it, actually truly homestead it. Now think about that, how much 160 acres is. And you had to do it all by hand originally. There was no steam when this first started. There definitely was no electricity. 160 acres, all by hand. That's a good reason why only 40% made it. If anybody knows or thinks they know what our surprise is, post it down at the bottom right now. Tell me what you think our big surprise is going to be.
For us.
For us. It's not something, no, it's no giveaway or anything like that. It's something that we're going to do. And it'll be at the end of this video. Here's the old, what your cabin would be like.
All these are basically early combines.
Yeah. And then there's the haystacker.
I mean, it's a furrower, and you planted seeds right behind it. But how they got the land, when they opened this area up for settlement, you went to a land office and you saw a map like this one, and then you were to pick a plot of land. You just say, okay, I'll take this plot here. You know, in 71, I'll take plot 20. And you had no idea if that was, you never seen it before, and you just hoped it was a good land. Or
You hoped that it had water.
yeah, you hoped it had water.
So many didn't have water. The Homestead Act, it actually was written up before Lincoln took office. However, the North did not want to do it. They were afraid that they would lose their skilled employees. And the South didn't want to do it because they didn't want to lose anybody, period.
They had nobody to lose.
Yeah, right. So when Lincoln took office, we had a lot of immigrants come in, and the North was like, yeah, go ahead, do it. So they did it. He signed it. And to be specific, it was not just for white men. It was open to everybody. Every race, creed could come out here and get it. Some preferred and just said no. And then others said it wasn't enough land for them. And mainly it was the immigrants. Now, there was a lot of Easterners or others that just wanted to move to have a better chance at life and came out. One of the things about it was they didn't know, like Jim said, most of them didn't know what land they were even picking. However, Freeman did know. He was out here during the Civil War, and he knew what land was good and what wasn't. So when he went to the office, he knew exactly what plot. And I'm sure he's not the only soldier that was out here that did the same thing, but most of them had no clue what they were getting themselves into or what land they were purchasing. It is a really neat place. It is have a lot of history. It's not too far out of the way.
No,
it was it was only maybe a half hour, if that. I think it was maybe 20 minutes off of the interstate. So if you're in here around, I think it's Beatrice, Nebraska, that's where it's located, and it's definitely worth it. Like we said, it's 85 to us. That's really hot right now because of coming from Alaska. We haven't adapted to the heat yet. But the schoolhouse is down there, and it has the history like I mentioned earlier. And also there's another building that is the educational building that has a bunch of the farm equipment and explains how they actually farmed. So
It's really neat stuff.
Yep. So next on our list is to show you the surprise, or tell you what the surprise is.
For us.
It's for us, obviously. It's
Not a big surprise to anybody else, really.
No, our big surprise for ourselves, what we are going to do. Go.
Okay.
We just passed Lippert
Camco,
and Camco, and what was the other one? Norco. So you have any idea where we are? We're in Indiana. We are, I think we just we're headed to Elkhart and Middlebury, Indiana. So we've decided to buy a new RV. We narrowed it down to 3 different ones. Top of the list was Cougar.
The Cougar one?
Next one was the Winnebago Mini.
Yep.
And the third one was, what was it? Imagine. And the Cougar was just too expensive. That was the main reason. We didn't.
$12,000.
It was $12,000 more. It didn't make sense to spend that much more money. So we're going with the Winnebago Mini.
Seen a lot of inventory sitting on manufacturers and at dealerships. I mean,
there's a lot.
A whole field full of vans.
Yeah, the vans don't seem to be moving.
And
but yeah,
Ember they were packed.
Ember was just packed solid. Now the 2025s are starting to hit the lot.
Right.
But we did buy a 2024. But yeah, our main criteria was it had to be 30 feet or less. It had to be really good quality. It had to have a good frame. It had to have a certain type of suspension.
Towable with our 3/4 ton.
With our 3/4 ton, which makes it a lot easier than a 1/2 ton. And then Jim wanted a larger bathroom. I wanted a bunch of windows. And that was really the main things. And then what we could carry, towable weight that it had. We did want a little bit bigger water tank.
Oh yeah.
And gray tanks.
Gray tank was a huge
one.
The
gray tank was a big, huge thing. So that was what we were looking for. Kind of like, we loved everything about the Apex Nano, but the things that we had a complaint was the shower wasn't big enough and the gray tank was too small.
Right.
So we automatically knew we wanted everything that we had in our Coachman plus. And the plus was a bigger bathroom, more windows so I could see out, and a bigger holding tank.
Yeah.
And also another thing we looked at was the flooring.
We looked at a lot of stuff. When you compare the two that we were looking at, the Winnebago really has better features. I mean, it's got a better frame.
With all three, the 3 finalists.
Yeah, I think it's got a better frame. It's got a better slide mechanism. The construction is basically the same. You know, plywood floor, plywood roof, Asdel in and out. I mean, basically the same thing there. The same suspension. But the Winnebago, we didn't really want a dinette.
Yeah.
We took one out of our last camper, so this one doesn't have a dinette. It's got a pull-out shelf. You'll see that. It's kind of. Yeah. We'll show you here in a little bit. But yeah, that's. Yeah.
So like I said, we basically got everything that we turned the other camper into, plus the things that we didn't like about it, which was it didn't have a big enough holding tank and it didn't have a big enough shower. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video of the Homestead National Historic Park. It was really interesting. It's not very far from the interstate, so it's not that far out of your way. And we will be introducing our brand new Winnebago
2630, yeah, Mini
2630 next Monday. So if you like this video, please give us a like. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know when the next video is coming out. Thanks for watching.